Sometimes the deals that you think are going to be amazing turn out to be nightmares. We recently bought a deal that was 2 houses on 1 lot, 2 for the price of 1. How could that go wrong? Well, it did.
Good friend of ours, my son's best friend's dad, actually found it for us. I love when, relationship capital actually shows up for the win. And he calls me and he's like, hey, I have this, really cool deal. Unfortunately, the dad is passing away. He's in the hospital and his son is freaking out. He doesn't know what to do with his properties. And so it might be something you want. Of course, I want to always look at any of those deals, right? It's like, well, what is it, right? So I get to this property, and I know that it's 2 properties. So I get there, and of course, the combination doesn't work. It doesn't work. So it was a rental, so then I called the property management company, and the lady was really sweet, and she's like, oh, well, let me try different codes. Well, I finally get into this property, but I couldn't get into the second property. So the main property that's, the one that's on title, the one that's the actual property address, I couldn't get into that property because there was renters in there.
Keep in mind, this is 2 houses on 1 lot. So there's 2 houses right next door to each other on the same parcel, same lot, driveway down the middle, and one of them's vacant, one of them's occupied.
So I pull in and I finally get in there, right? And I go, somebody's living here. I think somebody's in the house. I honestly am terrified because I hear all sorts of weird noises, of course, right? Start psyching myself out. It's a tiny little house. The first house is 925 square feet. That's it. So anyway, I get in there and I'm looking around and for real, it is a murder scene. It is absolutely terrifying. For sure there was meth in this house. It had pee everywhere. It had mold everywhere. It stunk and smelled like money. So that was good.
Don't forget the cucarachas.
Lots and lots of cockroaches. Yikes. It was honestly by far the worst property we have ever done. So we're like, well, what can we do with this property? The original idea was to say, my idea was like, hey, Mitch, we should do this property. He was like, no, we shouldn't do this property. So this is totally my fault. Almond Street's your fault. You can take that credit. Definitely this one was my fault. So I had to get us out, obviously. But my idea was, hey, we have 2 properties on 1 parcel. Just split it down the middle, right? Now we have 2 houses for 1, like you just said.
So we bought this house thinking, hey, we'll turn it into a duplex. We actually had the plan of dividing the lot in half and making it 2 lots with 2 separate houses on them and selling them individually. There's a strategy in real estate where you buy in bulk and sell in singles, and you make money that way. Using that same philosophy, we thought, hey, buy 2 for the price of 1, split the lot, sell both houses for what we paid for the whole thing, we double our money. But we ran into some problems. Maylee went down to the city. She talked to him about splitting the lot. No go. We talked to him about making it a duplex. No go. I remember going down to the city and talking to them after we had tried dozens of things, talking to them about bulldozing the houses and creating a 6-plex. We needed at least 6 units. If we were gonna build something new, we would have needed at least 6 units to make money on this deal. Well, if we were to bulldoze it, we could only fit 3 units on the property. The numbers didn't work, so we couldn't do that, right? So we all of a sudden were stuck with this deal where we didn't know what to do. There was always the option of turning it into a rental property. We would have cash flowed. The problem is we were using other people's money. So because we were using other people's money, they were planning on this being a short-term flip. They wanted out within 6 months. It wasn't gonna work. So we had to figure out what to do with this property.
This is all very true, but let's not make the mistake of forgetting the absolute most terrifying part of this entire deal was we couldn't get a permit now on the house. Okay, so let's not forget 6 months of trying to get a permit. So there's one problem of we can't now sell it individually, right? We couldn't split the lot. Fine. Let's just rent it out, right? Like, let's get it renovated and rent it out. Fine. That's totally fine. And then definitely an investor would want to purchase it, or maybe we would keep it or whatever. The problem is the city would not let us actually pull a permit on this property. And it's on a main road, so it's not like we can hide it from the city, honestly.
I don't think they know what to do with it either, though. I mean, like, we'd go to pull permits, and they're like, this is a weird thing. It's 2 houses on one lot. There's 2 meters, there's 2 addresses, but yet it's one parcel, it's one tax ID. So they didn't know what to do with it either. So they wouldn't give us permits. And they said, well, your houses are too close to each other. They're too close to the property lines. Because it's so weird, it's not really grandfathered in. So we can't give you a permit on it. So now we're looking at the rehab process and we're thinking, what do we do? Like, we're stuck, right? So now we've got like $400,000 invested into this thing. And we're just scratching our heads at, you know, and this is not even the end of the story. Like, it just gets worse from here.
Because they wouldn't give us permits, it's not a legal dwelling. So then they did come out and they looked at it and they went, okay, well, we'll give you a certificate of occupancy. We'll give you a non-conforming rental license if you can prove to us that it's been rented for the last 85 years.
Okay.
What do you want me to do?
We're in our 30s. Like,
So, the city finally did, after 8 hours of digging and digging at the library, we did get the non-conforming compliance certificate so that someone can live there. So that's good.
and thank goodness, because everything went wrong in this deal. I mean, there's more to this story that we're going to tell you. But that was like the only thing. Like, the fact that people could live in each of the houses. Like, that was the only thing that went right with this property.
Right.
And because we couldn't pull permits, there was a lot of work that we wanted to do that we couldn't. So we ended up just kind of polishing a turd. Like, really, I mean, these ugly houses, they're still kind of really ugly.
Oh, they're terribly ugly.
But we just put lipstick on a pig, right? Like, we painted them, we put flooring and carpet in them. You guys are going to have to check out the before and after video that's going to come out this month, because they did turn out kind of nice. But at this point, we finished the rehab. We think, hey, we kind of dodged a bullet here. Like, this was a nightmare, and we already knew well into this that we were going to be creating an episode of Flippin' Nightmares about it. But we thought, you know what? We did it, right? We figured it out. We put it on the market. How'd that go?
Well, I was really excited, actually, because I listed this property for $465,000. When we first were going through this, when I did the numbers, when we bought the property, all of those things, my ARV was 520, like 515. It was, because for sure, you know, for sure.
But that was with splitting the lot,
Right.
which we couldn't do. That was with doing more remodeling that would have required permits, which we couldn't do. So we knew that we were going to have to drop that price, so we listed it for
$465, which is an amazing deal, because if it's a rental, right, mind you, if it is a rental, that's an incredible deal. You own 2 houses and can rent them out
next door to each other, which is
Next-
nice.
oh,
As a property manager, that's nice.
so nice, right? Like, incredible. Unfortunately, the house 539 still smelled like smoke, because the people who lived there had lived there for 7 years, and all they did was smoke in that house, just nonstop. And so, unfortunately, it still smelled, you know, we did a really good job cleaning the furnaces and painting.
We cleaned everything.
We
Multiple
put
times. We put Kills primer on the walls and then on the floor.
And we put the smelly good stuff inside the paint. Nope. So
Still smelled like the house was made
So
out
I
of
turned
tobacco.
off the furnace the entire open house. We baked cookies. I mean, I had air fresheners going. No, it still did. And it was crickets. We only had homeless people stopping by. And then we had people.
You guys have cookies?
Yeah. And then we had people like, oh, hey, is this for rent? No, I'm selling this house, actually. Like, I'm selling this house. I'm trying to sell this house. We did have one couple come through. And that's the moral also of open houses sometimes. is it only takes one.
It does.
And that one couple is actually who ended up buying this property. So we'll have to go obviously into detail with that. But
So they offered us $465. We accepted it. We went under contract, and we went through the process. They started getting a loan. They sent in an appraiser, and that's where it got fun again. Remember, our offer is at $465. The appraisal comes back at $430. That means the bank won't lend more than $430. So either we have to back out of the deal and not sell it to them and hope that some other appraiser somewhere else appraises this for more, or we have to accept it at $430. Now, Maylee and I talked about this in great detail while we were going through this process. We talked about, well, what if we keep it? Well, we would have to get a mortgage on it, which means it would have to appraise at $430 if we're gonna, or at $465 if we were gonna get our equity partners out of there. So, we decided against that. Well, what if we put it back on the market? Well, that means that another appraiser is gonna have to come in and think it's worth $35,000 more. We decided that the chances of that were very low.
the truth is, I did meet with an appraiser before we took this offer, and he comes into our office multiple times a month and he goes, "Let me take a look at it for you." And he was like, "Oh yeah, didn't you know?" No, I didn't know. 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 I don't know if you knew, but I didn't know. So
She didn't know.
I didn't know.
I didn't know either.
He told me that unfortunately, in order for it to appraise, it would have to be licensed for an ADU unit. I said, "Oh, okay. How do I get one of those?" He goes, "Well, you gotta call the city." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, they're not gonna get that." And they didn't. They were like, "No, it doesn't qualify." I don't know why it didn't qualify, but it didn't qualify. So they're like, "Well, even if it did qualify, the most appraiser can give you on a ADU dwelling is half of the value of the property, of the home."
Yeah, so basically, they would have counted one of the houses, but the other one would have been treated like a mother-in-law apartment and wouldn't be treated as a full house. It'd be treated as half of a house. So we would have ended up at like $350,000 on a conventional. Luckily, we had a VA appraisal. We had a VA offer. The VA is always trying to help their vets, which in this case worked out in our favor as sellers. Usually it doesn't work out that way as a seller, but in this case it did. We got $430. We're walking away with 30 grand in profit. Now, we were still profitable on this deal, which is a miracle, I think, for how many things went wrong.
Oh, we did have to pay $4,500 in closing costs.
Yeah, well, add to the pile of crap that we dealt with on this property, right? Literally everything went wrong. There were two things that went right. Number one, we got permission by the city to treat both as legal dwellings. And number two, we walked away, even though it wasn't what we wanted, we walked away with more money than we put into it. And you know what? Whew, honestly, like I'm happy, but still, this is one for the record books. I mean,
it's
this
fresh. This is very fresh, people.
This is fresh. We closed on this
today.
Actually,
we closed on this today.
I went and signed the papers the same day we're recording this video. So, I mean, we haven't even released the before and after. You can expect that in a couple of weeks. It's going to be coming out this month. So make sure you watch for that. Now, we'd love to hear what you guys thought of this property. If you would have done something different, I'm definitely interested in hearing, because we learned a lot, but I'm sure there was more to learn from this thing. Now, if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. It's an easy and free way to support the channel. It really helps us out with the YouTube algorithm. And if you want to check out more of this amazing content, make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so that you get notified when we drop more Flippin' Nightmares videos or our Flippin' Education videos. And recently, Maylee started a new series on our channel, Flippin' Designs. You're gonna wanna check that out too. And of course, our flagship series on the channel, the before and afters, you're not gonna wanna miss those. Subscribe, ring the bell. If you want more than what you can find on this YouTube channel, you can check out our podcast that we recently launched. You can find it on all of the major podcast platforms. And we have a real estate investor call every single Wednesday. This is for aspiring real estate investors. This is for experienced real estate investors. and everybody in between. We go through deals, we talk about strategies, we talk about the market. You're not going to want to miss it. It's live every single Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Links in the description below for all the stuff I just talked about. Guys, thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate it, and we will see you on the flip side. Yeah. I mean, but you know, we basically polished a turd, I think.
Oh, we should use that. Okay, do that again.
Yeah, there's a soundbite for you, Jacob.
Oh, that's the opening. We polished a turd. We polished a turd and it didn't work.
When life poops on your doorstep, polish that turd.